Paul Mescal brings his uncertain levels of star power to an OK Saturday Night Live. Mescal isn't a practiced hand at sketch comedy, but what's the church lady's excuse? Paul Mescal is one of those actors where it's hard to tell how high his profile is outside of, well, the type of people who read and write for pop culture blogs. Sure, he's in the certified #1 non-musical movie in America right now, capably handling the role of Not Russell Crowe, and he got a much-deserved Oscar nomination for the heartbreaking feature film Aftersun, which was both the best movie of 2022 and recipient of slightly lower North American grosses than the Pierce Brosnan-led fantasy The King's Daughter. Plus, he was in a streaming TV series based on a popular book. Normal people watch normal people, right? Yet there was something slightly undercooked about his debut appearance on this week's Saturday Night Live, something oddly lightweight about this serious actor getting silly, as if even those familiar with his work were granted the power to look at Paul Mescal and go, "Wait, who is this guy again?" It's not that he was hosting too soon, exactly. He's very talented, and as he alluded in his monologue, he hasn't had the chance to show off his lighter side yet. He was certainly gamely charming, playing his sketch parts with that sometimes aching sincerity he brings to his more serious acting. But a lot of sketches placed him uninspiringly on one side or the other of a "this guy is acting weird" premise. In the sketch where Mescal played a kid coming home from college, surprised to find that his parents, Heidi Gardner and Emil Wacham, take his acquisition of a single earring as a personal affront, or the sketch where he played a man on trial whose lawyer, Andrew Dismukes, has some downright Liano Hutzian plans to win the case, he was the one suffering through the weird behavior. In the sketch where he played an actor seething through a co-star's corny improvisation on a pasta ad or a Spotify listener with a deeply strange artist at the top of his rap data, he was the one being weird, though not all that memorably. None of these sketches were completely awful. Some of them were quite funny, in fact. But it never felt like Mescal was actually playing much of a character, save perhaps in that pasta ad bit, which had the misfortune of not being as well constructed, concise, or laugh-out-loud funny as some of the other sketches. He did fine straight man work in the earring sketch, but didn't exactly make sense as a character 10 years below his actual age, and in the decidedly stranger Spotify sketch, Mescal was upstaged by Bowen Yang's latest collection of nonsense. And Yang, hilarious as he can be, is beginning to rival the lesser Melissa McCarthy vehicles in terms of smushing together a bunch of crazy tics and selling them as a package through sheer conviction. So while usually the host's precise level of stardom doesn't really figure that heavily into the show, that equalization process is one of the most fun things about watching week to week, year to year. This may have been one case where SNL had trouble figuring out what Mescal's level is, besides, obviously talented, and lovely accent. In the fake ad for an immediately musicalized re-release of Gladiator 2, there was a glimpse of the opposite effect, briefly, and for the purposes of this one pre-tape, Paul Mescal, the established star who can get laughs just by good-naturedly sending up his signature role and attempting that wicked vocal run. It was a very silly, not especially clever piece. It also felt more like what Mescal was presumably aiming for than almost anything else in the sort of fun, slightly off episode.